Caleb, one of the great things today about getting to spend some time with you and making these programs that we're making is that it just takes me back to your growing up and the things that your mom did, and I always think you're a credit to your mom, but that we did as a family that have led to you being a gospel preacher. And I think that there are a lot of them. I think it's partly that it's in your genes. But I want to talk today about family Bible time. And what we did growing up with you and your sister is, and this was not original with us, of course, lots of people have done this, but we every evening would have a time that we called story time. And what are your memories about that, Caleb?
It was called story time because initially we were just learning the Bible stories. We were learning about Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, and on through the Bible, the major characters of the Bible and many minor ones too. And then after we had gone through the whole Bible, really in terms of learning the story of the Bible, then we started talking about a lot of themes and subjects that were relevant to us, and we would sing, and it was always a fun time. It wasn't like going to a lecture where a kid would be bored or something like that. It was always done on a level where Hannah and I could appreciate what was being said. Games were involved where we would compete and see who could remember the best, and Mom would quiz us on things, and we would have discussions that were wide-ranging, and sometimes they were short devotionals and sometimes they were longer depending on what was going on, and they were never very formal, of course, but they were always where we could ask questions, we could jump in and talk and learn as a group, and where we felt at home in discussing whatever was on our minds. And it was a very healthy part of my childhood, and we're glad to be carrying that on with our daughter Maggie now.
There were times when, as you were saying, that it would be long. Sometimes you and your sister would have questions and we would talk things through. And sometimes it would be very short. I mean, you have to be flexible to make this work. Sometimes we would have a singing night and each of us would pick a favorite song and we would sing, and then we would pray, and that would be it. And of course we traveled a lot, and we
a lot of them were in the car.
Yeah, a lot was traveling. And which was okay. It didn't change our routine any. So tell me about Maggie. Tell me about that sweet baby and she's 1 year old. And so how are you implementing story time with her?
Well, we do it every night, and she has a Bible time box. That's not necessary, but she has a Bible time box with various toys that relate to Bible stories. Yeah. She's got animals that can be used for talking about creation or Noah's Ark, and God making and providing for the different animals and learning about animals and trying to reinforce that God's the creator. She's got a couple of different Bibles in there, one of which she's largely eaten over time, at least chewed on so that the corner's not there anymore. And then she's also got a globe where he's got the whole world in his hands, and we sing about that. And there's a fish in there that eats Jonah, and a lot of different things related to Bible stories, finger puppets of different Bible characters. And so we're trying to teach her who's who, although she's not to the level where she can understand identities like that. But she will over time, and I'm sure she understands more than we give her credit for, because she can't verbalize everything that she understands. She obviously understands more than she can say as we go along. So we sing with her, and we're teaching her to pray and how to be thankful for what she has and thanking God for different things that are important to her. And she loves it. In fact, when I get her up in the mornings, when she wakes up and we're changing her diaper, she will point to the closet where the Bible box is, where the Bible time box, and say Bible when she points to that box, because she wants to play with it. And right now, I guess it's mainly playing with toys. Yeah. But hopefully we're teaching her to love doing Bible time, so that when she's older, she will look forward to it, just as she looks forward to it now, only on a deeper level.
Well, obviously, Caleb, what you're saying is that you plan to do this every night from now on. I can remember when you were in college and your sister, I think, had just started college, and one of our friends who was, I think, maybe your roommate at the time at Freed Hardeman, came to visit us, and Nathan and Hannah were talking, and Nathan said, "You know, Hannah, all of the years that I've known your family, every time I've come in the evening or I've spent the night at your house, you've always had this Bible time. And do you do that every time you have guests in the house?" Which was very funny, of course, because, Hannah had to think about that. Well, no, she said, we do it whether we have guests or not. And now Nathan is grown, and he has children of his own, 3 of them, and he and his wife are doing family Bible time every night too. When Caleb was in college, he was talking about the games that we would play. And you know what? To make this successful, you have to be flexible, and you do different things. And some nights you're going to talk about very serious matters that Dad wants to make sure that the kids know. Some nights you'll have singing night. Some nights you'll play games. And we always had fun with games. So you can take them to the kitchen and sit them on the tile floor and play Simon Says, a type of variation of that. Or you could do 20 questions, and we would do that pretty often. You could do a scavenger hunt. There's all different ways you could do it. Well, anyway, one night when our daughter Hannah who's younger, was still at home, Caleb called from school during our story time. I don't know if you remember this, but anyway, you called, and Caleb just called to say hi and check in, and we said, well, we're having story time right now. And he said, well, what are you doing? And well, we're playing a game. He said, can I play? Oh, sure.
I think I won, didn't I?
I was just about to say it was because he was always very competitive.
Right.
And so that's
they tried to talk to me about that in family Bible time, and
well, a lot of good it did.
Apparently it didn't work.
But anyway, so sure you can play. And so we set the phone in the middle of the table, and we started asking the questions. And I don't even remember the game that we were playing, but Caleb ended up winning that night, and he didn't always win, but he won that night.
And I won most of the time.
And he said, well, Mom, is there a prize? Well, often there was.
A prize.
No, it wasn't a big thing. It wasn't a bicycle. It was something small. And anyway, Cindy said, yes, there's a prize. What is it? And she said, it's a pair of socks. And Caleb said, can you ship them? And so she said, sure. And so the next day she shipped them, and he got his pair of socks for winning that Bible time that night.
I would add something to what you were saying about it's one of the reasons I became a preacher. I'm sure that's true, but the main reason we do it is not so that kids turn out to be preachers, but so that they turn out to be Christians.
That's a great point.
And so Maggie obviously is not going to turn out to be a preacher in the sense that she occupies a pulpit somewhere, but we believe it will have a lot to do with whether she turns out to be faithful. And if we're raising faithful children, then we're raising people who are successes, whether they're preachers or not. And I would venture to say that your goal in doing Bible time with us was never really to produce a preacher, but to produce somebody who is a Christian. And it is a blessing to be a preacher, and we don't want to minimize that in any way, and we're thankful to be preaching. But to be a success is to be right with God. And family Bible time is a great expedient, and I would say an almost absolutely necessary expedient in order to make that happen.
I'm glad you feel that way, and I'm really glad, as Maggie's grandfather, to think that she's getting this kind of spiritual education from you and Becca, and I know that you're doing such a great job with her, and I just want you to think about that this is something that you can leave as a legacy, as a heritage, as something that you pass on to your kids. We really didn't get everything right. We got a lot of things wrong, but this is something that I think anybody can do. It's not so very hard. The challenge really is making it habitual. The challenge is that I think you can listen to something like we're doing right now, and you say, oh, well, we should do that. And you do it for a couple of weeks, and then you get busy and you don't do it. To make this work, it has to be a matter of habit. It's something that we do every night. Again, even if you have to be flexible, and some nights it's going to be shorter than others, you do something about story time every night.
My wife was talking to a Christian lady not long ago in another place, And this was a lady who is probably 27, 28 years old and was reared attending the services of the church and had family members who were elders in the church and various roles in the congregation where she was. And she said something to the effect of, we just didn't really learn much about the Bible in our home. And it wasn't that her family were being unfaithful to the services or not taking her to Bible class. It was just they never sat down and talked about it together. So that now she has just what is, to her even, this is what she would admit, an ignorance about the Bible that she regrets. And obviously she bears some responsibility. She's an adult. She needs to do better and is doing better. But she is kind of surprised to look back on her childhood and think, I was reared by Christian parents, but I didn't get much Bible knowledge from them. And that is probably not because her parents had no Bible knowledge to offer. It was that they just didn't have a constructive method of disseminating that. And if they had had something like Family Bible Time, that problem would have been avoided.
I think that's true, and I think good parents find it easy to let the years pass by, and we bring them to Bible class, the children to Bible class and worship, and we sort of think, well, they're getting a spiritual education, and really, parents need to do more. Parents need to take that responsibility on their own shoulders. And this is story time at night is a great way to do it. I like to encourage dads to make a daddy list of all the things, and it's a living document. You add to it, but the things that I want to make sure that my kids know before they grow up and leave my house. That doesn't necessarily pertain to Maggie right now. She's 1 year old, but when she gets to be 13 and 14 and 15, those kinds of things are really, really going to matter.
Right. We applaud good Bible class teachers in congregations,
yes,
and good youth ministers and good preachers and people who are in the congregational setting providing for the spiritual education of children. This is not to minimize that at all,
of course,
but rather to say that that's a supplement to the primary obligation of parents to provide the spiritual nourishment for their children according to Ephesians 6, 1 through 4, and Proverbs 22, 6, and other passages. So we want to say, let's have our parents take on the serious obligation that God has given them and really spend time with their children in developing their spiritual maturity. And that will be the safest guarantee of children remaining faithful over the years.
It just occurred to me while you were talking, Caleb, that I don't think Cindy or I have ever said to you, now that you have Maggie, you must do family Bible time. You must do this. You've got to do this. I don't think we ever said that to you, but
No.
you just naturally did it because that's the world in which you grew up.
And we just love her. That's both. If we really love her soul and want her to be saved, then why would we not want to take an opportunity every day to help her learn what she needs to know?
Yes.
It's just a matter of love.
Well, and I would just like to point out that you have a very beautiful and intelligent, remarkably intelligent daughter. She's really just really amazing.
She takes after her mother.
Well, there you are. So what we came to talk about today was Family Bible Time, and to encourage you to do it in your own house and dream with us about future generations that will come one at a time loving the Lord Jesus Christ, and won't it be a great, great reunion in heaven one day.
We may just add that there are a variety of good resources that are being made available in our brotherhood for helping with Family Bible Time. There are a lot of good children's books that have been produced on this subject, and we would be happy to help people find material like that if they would like to talk to us about it.
Apologetics Press has some great
That's
stuff.
right.
On our website, the Colley House, you have some good material for Family Bible Time that I'm sure would be helpful, especially getting started, and keeping it rolling.
there probably are parents who would like to take our advice and do this, but are wondering exactly how it would function on a night-to-night basis or morning-to-morning or whenever you do it. But that need can be served.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Well, thanks for listening. God bless you.